Welcome to our third episode of Let's Try That. This series features quick invitations that are meant to encourage you to gather and create together.
So grab a friend, a neighbor, a parent, or a pet, and let's create.
On today's episode, we're going to be creating Exquisite Corpse, inspired by the exhibition currently on display at the Saugatuck Center for the Arts. Absurd Imaginaries features work by Jessica Calderwood and Julie Liger-Belair.
And if you haven't already, be sure to come down to the SCA and check out the exhibit. It's really powerful.
Both of our artists, Jessica and Julie, draw upon surrealist motifs and folklore in really playful ways, exploring themes related to gender, identity, and fantasy. Warning! Today's episode is extra silly and absurd. Let us break it down for you. Miss Erin, what's surrealism?
So, surrealism is an art movement or a type of art that uses realistic images in a dreamlike way. So think about something that you know very well, like an apple or your nose, and pretend it gets pushed through a dream. Think about what that would look like. Surrealism looks a lot like that. So there's a surrealist artist, Salvador Dali, who was known for his images of melting clocks. Notice the way that the clock looks real, but what it is doing is highly unrealistic. It's so silly. So what do you think that says about Salvador Dali? Usually surrealist art has to do with the subconscious, the deepest parts of your mind. So what do you think he was trying to express with these clocks? I think somebody was always running late. And then Miss Whitney also mentioned folklore. Folklore is usually when there's like a type of myth or story that gets passed down from generation to generation. So can you think of any folklore in your family, any stories that have been passed on time and again?
On this episode, we're going to be creating Absurd Exquisite Corpse. Let us further break it down for you.
Okay, what's absurd?
Wildly unreasonable, illogical, and preposterous.
And what about exquisite?
Extremely beautiful and typically delicate.
What's a corpse?
A dead body, especially that of a human being rather than an animal. So get ready to draw, glue, cut, and paste human and animal parts.
In a very silly, respectful, and creative way, of course.
This episode was directly inspired by our visit to Julie's home studio in Toronto, Canada. She and her family often create together, and they submitted the coolest exquisite corpse to a book called Uppercase Magazine. If you're not familiar, be sure to check it out.
Whitney, that sounds and looks amazing, but what exactly is an exquisite corpse?
An exquisite corpse is the collection of images. They're usually assembled by several people, and they complete one image, typically of some sort of figure, whether human or animal.
Okay, I've heard of that. It's kind of like a game.
Exactly. It's based on an old French surrealist parlor game.
Oh my. It's all coming back to me. I'm having déjà vu. Just picture it. 1920s France. A group of amis des artistes.
That means artist friends.
Oui, amis des artistes like Marcel Duchamp and Jean Miro would gather in a historic French home or occasionally along La Rivière Seine to take turns creating exquisite corpses. One person might draw la tête ou le visage.
She means head or face.
Oui, then another person would create la torse et les bras et les mains.
She means tummy, arms, and hands.
Oui, and then another person would create les jambes et la pied.
She means legs and feet.
Oui, Whitney, I didn't know you spoke French.
Miss Erin, I was just reading the subtitles.
Oh, well, très bien. I mean, super cool.
Cool as a cucumber. It's kind of like creating
A creature
collage.
Yeah. Or a human hodgepodge. And don't forget your Mod Podge for your hodgepodge. Or if you're like us, glue.
Let's get wild and wacky and absurd.
Whitney, should we create our own hybrid creatures?
Let's try that. So to get started, you want to scour your house for magazines and photographs. You can go online and find images of people, animals, and objects. Most importantly, you just want to be sure to have a collection of tops, middles, and bottoms.
And kids, by bottoms, we don't mean your biscuits, we mean your legs.
You want to play with scale. Having a variety is key. Have some big buns, some tiny saucers, medium-sized skyscrapers.
Miss Whitney, that's absurd.
Play around with shapes and objects. The wackier, the better.
Stir up your creative energy. Play with plants, foods, animals, machines, patterns, shapes, hats, furniture, buildings. And once you have a configuration that you are pleased with, you may glue it down.
Make sure that you're taking turns and talking to each other. When you're gluing, you can apply with a glue stick. I like to apply it straight to the object and then place it on the paper. Miss Erin likes to apply it right to the paper and then put her object on there. It's kind of absurd.
Yeah, that's crazy, Miss Whitney.
You can also just use Mod Podge with a paint brush, whichever you'd like, but you want to finalize your collage by putting them on an additional piece of paper. Once you have made all of your wacky collages, you could advance to create your own family collage, just like Julie Liger-Belair did. Have fun with it.
Or if you're like me and you are your own spouse and child and self, you could create a portrait like I did of me, and you got it, me.
That's absurd, Miss Erin.
That is absurd right there, but exquisite as well. Once you have gotten used to making your own exquisite corpses, you can advance to drawing your own torsos, jambes, and têtes, top, middle, bottoms.
We know you aren't near the Seine River in France, but it is super fun to make it into a game. You could play with a group of people or your family.
And let me clarify, Miss Whitney means that it's fun to play the game with others. She does not mean to use people as supplies.
Miss Erin!
And all you need for you and your group to play the game is a few small pieces of paper, and we recommend using the micron pens that we used in last week's Zentangle episode. So Whitney, I think I'll take the top. I'll do a head.
I'll do middle.
Perfect. And then do you want to each draw a leg and foot at the bottom?
Sure. Let's see what wacky, absurd thing we can come up with. All right.
Oh,
That's absurd.
that is incredibly absurd. Whether you are collaging or drawing, the result is always a hoot. So, get a few friends together and give this game a try.
Once your collages and drawings are complete, we encourage you to snap a photo and post it. Be sure to use the hashtag #Let'sTryThatSCA.
Yeah, it's not called Let's Watch That. We've noticed that we've had a lot of views, but we haven't seen much of your art. We want to see the talented and creative people that you are, and we'd love to see what you're making. If you're making anything, don't just watch us.
Tune in next time when we're going to be creating something even more absurd. Miss Erin?
Yes? Should we try that? Yes, Whitney. Let's try that.